When it comes to developing a healthy relationship, some of us tend to be the ones who take up a lot of verbal space and energy. We overtalk. Others of us tend to undertalk or undershare. I did a video recently for those who are the talkers amongst us, and it's important that we sit and understand the impact that has on other people. It's easy to just sit there and be like, that's just who I am. And yet all of us can develop the skills and the muscles that we know help bond us to other people. Some of us, though, are the listeners, the quiet ones, the introverts. Maybe it's we're shy. Maybe that we're internal processors. Maybe we just like taking it all in. There's a lot of different reasons why, and that's a good place to start, is asking yourself, why do I tend to undertalk or undershare? Maybe it takes me longer to think of what I want to say. Or maybe I'm always waiting for somebody else to ask me questions and you leave every interaction being like, they never care, they never ask. And so you're waiting for an invitation that's not being given. Or maybe you're just not comfortable interjecting yourself and the conversation's going and you're like, wait, I want to talk. Maybe it's a fear of insecurity, like I'm not very interesting, or people will think I'm weird, or I don't really have anything of value to say. Some of us, we feel like we are maybe scared to be seen. We have things inside of us that we're quite frankly nervous to like reveal or to open up, and we kind of feel like we're holding it all together or holding our cards close. Some of us have been hurt. Some of us don't trust other people well, and so we tend to just want to kind of stay quiet, and we think we're safer if we're like getting information on everybody else, but not revealing any ourselves. It's really important to start with the inquiry. Why do I tend to undershare? And certainly we're all wired differently with different levels of energy. And not everything has to be 50-50. But every relationship, for it to be healthy and for both people to feel close, the definition of a healthy relationship is where both people feel seen in safe and satisfying ways. Both people. And so it's one thing for a talker to come and for you to be the wise one or the listener or the therapist or the one who doesn't have any problems or just kind of the one that's always positive and friendly or whatever your reasons are. And it's okay that somebody's coming and like wanting to like pour out their heart to you, and they might leave feeling like, I feel so seen. But the bummer is not only are they not seeing you, but you will never feel seen, supported, or in an intimate, close relationship if you don't feel seen. And, this has a big impact. I think we often, I feel like, so I've been around a lot of group settings, a lot of gatherings, and I was talking to the talkers in the previous video, and they have a tendency to repel people if they don't manage their energy well. I've been in a lot of settings where I can see the talker coming in and just watching the energy of others kind of pulling away. And none of us want to be that person. But on the flip side of that, while our quiet ones, you sweet people, you might not be repelling people, but neither are you attracting them. Neither are you pulling them toward you. Neither are you bonding them. It's possible for us to go an entire gathering or an entire event or an entire experience and not walk away feeling like we know you, or that you were seen, or that you were even present, or that your energy showed up and contributed. And so we really need you to see this ebb and flow of energy in a relationship. And while we don't want to be the people who are like pushing forward, neither do we want to be the people who are withdrawing or who are like not putting energy in, who at the end of the night, the other people feel like they are the ones who had to work so hard or who they just took up the space. We want you to feel present, to feel seen, to feel practiced at showing up in a space like that. And so talkers need to practice being comfortable with silence, being practiced and conscious about asking questions. Just as our quiet people. I'm not asking you to be a talker. I'm not asking you to go out and just like change who you are, because who you are is perfect. It's beautiful. And there's so many wonderful, wonderful skills that you bring to friendships so naturally, so beautifully, that we are so grateful for. And I want to invite you to practice building the muscles of being seen, of sharing, of revealing, because I want to feel close to you. Your friends want to know you. In fact, it doesn't even have to be amazing or interesting or big news. I've often talked to some of my friends who are quieter and they're just like, it's just nothing big's happening or there's no big thing going on. And I say, it doesn't matter. I mean, things are happening in your life just as they are in anybody else's life. One of my favorite quotes that I once heard was a woman saying, the kind of friend I want is the kind of friend that I can call and say, why do I have 3 jars of pickles in my fridge? That's intimacy too. We don't need big, amazing news. We don't have to have you doing the most interesting big thing for us to care about you. I want to know what my friends are reading. I want to know what news stories are impacting them and pulling them in. I want to know what crazy ideas they're kind of thinking through or how it's feeling with their kids or their spouse or their partner right now. I want to know the little things. I want to know what you do on a day-to-day basis. I want to know how just kind of your day goes and how those little things are feeling in your life. We feel closer to you when we feel like we're getting to know you, when we can picture and be able to picture and be like, I know what she's doing today, or I know what it looks like, or I think I know what she would feel about this subject, or I kind of assume I would know how she reacts to this. None of us will feel all that close or trusting of a person where we're like, I don't really know where she stands on that, or I don't know how she would react to that, or I don't really know what she feels about me. And so we walk away making assumptions. And with assumptions, we know those are rarely good. We often will assume the worst about us. We'll say, well, maybe she's not really interested in me, or maybe she doesn't trust me. And so we start kind of making up stories. So we want you to own your story and not leave it up to everyone else to assume and to fill in the blanks. And so a couple of tips for you that I just kind of want to offer up as a way of practicing showing up with your energy. And don't worry, it's like I'm always saying to people, they're always so afraid if there's a pendulum that you're like going to overdo it. And by nature, you might be a quieter person. So don't worry, you're not going to become somebody who's just talking all the time and filling up all this space. It's going to feel that way because moving on the spectrum, it's going to be more than you're used to. But that's good. It's like training for a race or lifting muscles, relationship muscles, weights, for your muscles. It's going to feel heavier than you're used to. It's going to feel like more than you're used to. But don't think, this is more, and then stop. It's more because you're building muscles. So here's a couple ways to help build the muscles. Number 1, recognize that vulnerability is a process. It's a spectrum. It's not all or nothing. I am not asking you to show up and just be like, here's my entire life story. I'm not asking you to show up and talk nonstop. I'm asking you to think about your pattern and think about why you don't talk and where is it that you stop and where could you kind of move to the next level. For some of you, like if vulnerability were a scale of 1 to 10, for some of you, it's practicing levels 1 and 2. It's just showing up and talking and having an opinion and engaging and interacting and being willing to kind of interject a little bit. For some of you, you might be comfortable going all the way up to 4 and 5 and you can show up, but then you have like a locked door on going any closer to you. And so think about where's your place and what would it look like for you to move up a notch or 2 in a safe, appropriate way. And so just practice opening up a little bit more, sharing a little bit more. Don't think of it as all or nothing. Just think of it as I'm building this muscle and practicing a little bit more. Number 2, for some of us who are more internal processors, one of the best things we can do is before we show up with a friend or before we show up with our family or before we get on a Zoom call, think about, with this person, what would I most like to share? I do this all the time. Before I've got a phone call this afternoon with a friend, and I'm already thinking, what are the things that happened in the last week that I would most want her to know? And so I'm already going into that phone call saying, here's the 2 things I want to share with her. And I want to make sure that I'm sharing the things that matter to me. I'm thinking ahead of time. And so I'll make sure that I share those 2 things with her. And I will get off the phone feeling higher likelihood of feeling connected to her because I shared what mattered. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not just going to let the conversation go wherever it goes and risk getting off and being like, I didn't really want to spend all of my time talking about that. I really wanted to share these things. So I'm going to own, what do I want to share with this person? What would feel good to have witness? What would I like their input on? Where do I want their encouragement in? Where do I just want to share with them some of the things I'm thinking? And so think ahead of time. about what you want to share. It will increase the likelihood of you sharing what matters. Number 3, for some of us, when we're just trying to interact more, I want you to think about sharing, like kind of jumping off other people's sharing. So when they're sharing about their trip or something, we don't want to take away from them. We definitely want to like ask some questions and hear and listen and validate. But then how can you use that to share something about yourself? Answer the same question they just asked. Say, yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that for me. And then share something about you that you can put forward, a little bit of something about yourself. And so even if the question's not explicitly asked, we need to learn how to share. We need to learn how to show up and be seen without needing somebody else to ask us everything. It's our job to be seen. And so we need to practice doing that. Yes, in an ideal world, 2 people would get together and just do such a great job of sharing the time, asking questions, and being curious. But some of us just need to simply practice showing up and being like, oh wait, I wanted to share something before we go. I have a whole bunch of other videos here on YouTube about how to, when your friends interrupt a lot, how to share, how to kind of deal with somebody who overtalks. And so there's some other resources there for you, but own the fact that it's your job to show up and to share something. And so you can use the conversation that's happening and share from there. Or you can, what I was saying earlier, you can think ahead of time about what you want to share if it's somebody that you know that you're meeting. And then one other tip I really want to just make sure I highlight is if it's a friendship that you have a pattern in, that you are familiar with each other, you're kind of breaking a pattern. And that's important to recognize because you're saying we have developed a habit where she does most of the talking and I do most of the listening. And so I'm going to need to adjust this. And it's a good thing to be able to name that out loud. And so say to your friend, I love how comfortable you are with sharing. I get off the phone or I walk away from our time together just feeling like I know you more. And I love that. And I've been doing some self-reflection and realized that I'm often more closed or I'm often not as comfortable. And I want to change that because I want us to both feel close to each other. And so I'm going to try to show up a little bit more and to share a little bit more. I'm going to go outside my comfort zone and try to share more. And maybe there's an ask in there you can give. Maybe it's, if you see me not doing that, would you call me out on it? Or you can say, I know it's my responsibility to share, but if you could ever think about it or remember to ask me and just kind of like make sure that I don't get off the phone without sharing some of the things going on in my life, or, you're welcome to ask for what you need. But this is so valuable because it helps you name your intention and it helps your friend recognize that a pattern is changing for the good, and you're not saying anything bad about her talking too much. You're simply saying you want to feel closer to her, and you are taking responsibility for helping make that happen. But you're eliciting her support, and you're helping her want this for you. So what a powerful thing to name and to communicate and to help change that pattern. I say all of this loving you exactly as you are, with your fabulous listening skills and your ability to have presence and the way that you are advising and guiding and loving us all and showing up in so many other ways. Thank you. And I want you to be seen. I want you to not feel lonely because you're holding and being a receptacle for everybody else, but you don't feel like anyone knows you. I want you to know that there's people out there who know you and love you, that you can feel safe with, that you can trust because you have built up trust over time. You deserve to be known. You are an amazing, interesting, fascinating person with all kinds of ideas, all kinds of really deep thoughts, all kinds of opinions, all kinds of interests that we are being robbed of if you don't share. I want to know. I want to learn from you, my friends who are quiet. Please, because we love you, be brave in any way you can and start building that muscle of being seen a little bit more. So to all of us, whether we're the talkers or the quiet ones, may we all learn new ways of showing up and saying, this friendship's only going to feel good if we both learn how to show up and share and validate each other in ways where we both feel safe and seen. And the more any 2 people do that together, the closer and more meaningful and deeper and supportive that friendship is going to be. And I want that for you.